Hello YouTube community, my name is the Jack13 and today we're going to be playing some more Dark Souls. This is post-com style because the live com version didn't really work very well. The storytelling wasn't the greatest. I became human and kindled this bonfire, which is near the blacksmith. I don't think I actually showed the blacksmith in this episode. I think it was part of the deleted scenes from episode 6, which sadly will never be shown to mankind ever in the future of history. Because they were just corrupted beyond belief, and all of them just were deleted upon exporting from Game Capture HD. Instead, however, I think, what am I checking this stuff for? Oh yeah, the Fang Boar Helm. What you guys missed is I actually did kill that boar, and I got the Fang Boar Helm. So I got that, got this bonfire all lit up, and things were going pretty well. Sadly, my speedrun attempt that was amazing and awesome from running from one side to the other after killing the boar to this bonfire here. That whole entire running attempt is now gone as well, so you missed some of that. A lot of cool stuff sort of just got deleted, and I didn't like that, but I got to move on with it. So I think right after seeing that didn't work out made me feel really dejected and stuff, so my storytelling prowess was sort of subpar. I was also really tired that day. Yesterday, that is. And today, I'm still not doing super, well rested and all that, but I'm doing a little bit better to tell stories. And so I decided, you know what, might as well tell the beginning of my life, my life story. I had originally planned to make this a, what's it called, a vlog series in which I just told you guys the story vlog form, and we went from there. However, I feel that it's much, much easier to have in the background of Dark Souls videos and all that, because that's a bit more interesting in my opinion than doing a bunch of vlog videos. Though I have fun with those, I think I'm probably not going to be doing any more of those. If I ever do a video that's an actual video of that sort, vlog style, I'll probably go back to using the little guy over there, that action figure, just because I prefer that. I don't like being on camera anymore. When I go back and edit it, I just feel really awkward with it. I have, when I'm talking and I swallow and all, I don't feel comfortable with it right now, so we'll get around to that. Anyway, so my name is Michael Taliesin Goldsmith. That's what I was named at birth. However, Taliesin sadly was misspelled by the people who wrote down my name on my birth certificate, so I'm going to have to go get that changed at a later date. They spelled it T-A-L-I-S-I-N, and they forgot the E that happens after the first I, so it's actually T-A-L-I-E-S-I-N. And for the longest time, I did not know that. I looked it up, and spell corrector actually told me that. I asked my mom, and she said, yeah, that's what happened. They just didn't spell it correctly, either because she didn't know the correct spelling of it, they didn't know the correct spelling of it, or there's just a lot of miscommunication somewhere. I don't quite know, don't quite care, because like I said, it's not a huge thing, and I can probably get it changed later on anyway. So I was born then, and from that age until the age of 2, my life was really, really eventful. Luckily for me, I actually didn't see any of that stuff in person and stuff. This was a great combination. I got the parry, I got the strong attack, and I got the backstab, and that just destroyed him. It was a lot of fun. I don't think you have to fight him anymore either. I think he's one of those that despawns. Anyway, so the general story of the first couple of years of my life, as it's been relayed to me, because like I said, I don't remember a whole lot of it, is that my mom and dad, both before having me, were really addicted to drugs and were alcoholics, and just a whole bunch of stuff like that were wrong with them. And though my mom sort of got clean when she had me, just so that I didn't get completely severely messed up when I came out as a child, and so that she could also, do better family stuff, I guess. She didn't want to have that in the household if she was going to have a kid, which makes sense. My father, on the other hand, did not do that, and he continued to smoke and ingest and inject and all those other types of things that you can do with drugs. And it just turned out to not quite work out between the two of them. They were arguing before that anyway. They were just very argumentative people. My mom has always been sort of rebellious in that sense. And my father, I don't know much about him, but I feel like he probably just wasn't having any of my mom's stuff, like, at all. Especially since he's all hopped up on drugs anyway, so things just... anything that would kill the buzz would probably be a downer to him. So, I have that problem to deal with until I'm 2 years old. Eventually, their argument gets to a point where they take it to court, trying to get custody of me. And things just really, like, were bad between them. They were thinking about divorce, they were trying to get custody of me and fighting over all that stuff. Like I said, Dad was still into drugs and all that, so he was really messed up. And the way it ended up working out was my grandparents on my mom's side, her parents decided that it would be best to get me out of that situation, let them figure out their differences, get cleaned up, all that good stuff. Like I said, both of them were sort of like rebellious anyway, so that ended up not being the case, and they had to go to court again, and this time my grandparents got full custody of me. My mom and dad got me on the weekends, and that was basically how that ended up working out. Luckily for me, I did get to have a normal life in childhood, but the earlier years of my life were filled with lots of difficulties and stuff like that. So my father had me over at his house one day for one of his court-ordered visitations, and apparently he had been smoking like some stuff. I don't remember what it was, but he had passed out on the floor, and during that time period I ended up getting pneumonia, and I had a infection in my ear, and I had other maladies of that sort, but I think those are just the two that, to my recollection, I remember hearing about. And so obviously that really pissed off my mom. She did not want me to be in an environment like that, especially if it's my own father who's keeping me in that environment. Like, that's just the worst thought of like any possible parent's mind. So she ended up like really confronting him about that, and they're basically just continued fighting a whole lot. They had times when they fixed things up and things weren't so like god awful between them, but for the most part they argued and argued. Like I would keep mentioning, my father had a lot of problems with drugs, but because he also was really bad with money and stuff like that, he was living basically with friends for like the majority of the end of his life. And so not only does his family have like a sort of history of depression, he's got all these like problems with drugs, and he's not really doing so well as a father or as a human being in general, not being a productive member of society. That all just like caved in on him, and I think the drugs mostly, because he kept saying to my mom that he was being chased after by shadow people, and so like that wasn't a fun time at all for them. And with all that stuff like finally culminating in his suicide, he committed suicide just so that he could escape it all. It was pretty sad for a lot of people in my family, but like I said, I was like 3 years old at the time, so it didn't affect me too much then. And now it still doesn't affect me much because I have a loving family. I have a stepfather, and I never really wanted for a father figure in my life. I just always had it there. So it never really bothered me. And when I heard about it at the time, I think my grandparents came in to tell me when I was playing with action figures or something in my room, and I just sort of like took it like a champ. It just like rolled off my back. They was like, your father's dead. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Continued playing. It didn't really either sink in or just faze me whatsoever. And for the most part, that's kind of how my life is gone. I just either don't get fazed by it, or it just doesn't sink in, or I like feel I have to stay strong for my family because they all see that like I'm the big optimistic guy when it comes to things and like events happening. And for the most part, that's what I do. Like, I can handle stuff pretty well for some reason. And I'm that shoulder that people go to cry on if they need it. I remember my mom and I went to check out where he was buried. I don't remember when that happened. The fact that I remember it means that it probably was like when I was 4 or 5, because that's when like my early memories actually start to form, and I remember stuff happening. But she sat there and she was crying, and I just came over to her and like patted her on the shoulder or something like that, and stuff like really comforting stuff. And that's basically been my role from that point on. I just sort of am the guy that when somebody is in trouble or needs help, I am the guy to go to them and make sure that they're not crying or being sad. And I try to do that with basically anyone. It doesn't really matter, not just family people, but like my friends. I remember in the past, friends would have problems, and I'd say, hey, come to me about it. I can help you out, and I'll be there to listen to you and get you through this. I know it's tough and all that, but be strong. You got this. You know, that kind of stuff. The motivational work and all that. And recently, I've just been seeing that that's not, like, it's getting harder and harder to do because I have my own problems that I just haven't really attended to and I put off to the side. None of them are really big, so I'm not too worried about it. I can, like, get through it all in my own time. But it's like, I have a lot of stuff just sort of like swirling around in my head, and it's just too much to help other people out recently, it seems. Anyway, so to return to the story, my dad kills himself in 2001, and it's like, that was one of the worst years in the history of our family, basically. Leading up to that, there had been numerous, like, family feuds and stuff like that, but after that big event, everything just sort of sunk in as to how massive a scale this actually, like, the fighting had gone on and had been. So people reconciled their differences for the first time in God knows how long. My mom had a really rough time of it. She was super depressed, and she spent time at the AA to make sure that she got off of alcohol. I think she had basically at that point stopped doing any kind of drugs, including weed, just so that she could be a good mother, but more so that she could be healthy and be able to get through stuff. It was a very difficult time for her because she didn't have the guy that she loved, you know, the person who would normally be able to help her in a situation like that. She didn't have that with her. And she's normally a very dependent person. You know, she requires other people to help her out, which isn't a problem at all. Like, I understand, that makes sense. Some people just can't do stuff completely on their own, even if they want to, even if they act like they can. Things just are too much for some people. And after a long fight of a few months, I think it was, she ended up being able to get through it all. And her problems basically went out the window. She was able to reconcile any differences that she had with people for the most part. Her depression subsided, and she was able to live life normally. And she went out and found a boyfriend, my stepfather. I don't know how many guys she was seeing at that time, like in between. He's the only one that I remember if she saw anybody else, and I don't think she did. But my stepfather fell in love with me the first time he saw me. We played with our wrestling figures because he was really into wrestling. He got me into WWE and stuff like that, and he's one of the main reasons why the channel name is what it is today, the Jackhammer 13, because if I hadn't have seen WWE or WCW or wrestling or anything like that, through him, I never would have had, you know, the inclination to get into video games even. Like, he has made a really major impact on me, and I really love him. They've been having problems recently, and it's just, it's sad to see because I love him more than I do my own father because I didn't know him. I didn't know my own father. I'm sure I would have loved him if I had met him too. But yeah. So, after I think maybe 2-3 years of them being married though, I think they're now, I think this year's going to be 14 on October 5th. They got married the day before my birthday to give to me as a 4th birthday present, which was pretty awesome of them. But I think this is going to be their 14th year, and my sister's now 11, so they're probably 3 years married when they had her. And we have about 6.5 years difference between us. I live with my grandparents, she lives with my mom and dad, or my mom and stepdad rather. And so you'd figure things would be like really difficult to maintain a good family relationship with her, right? But actually, we have gotten to get along so much better than anybody could have even hoped for. It's almost as if, like, when we see each other on the weekends, like, we just have never been apart at that point. We are one of the greatest siblings of all time. And I'm not saying that as to, like, to toot my own horn or be cocky or anything like that. Like, people have noticed how, like, close we actually still are, even though we don't, like, live together. It's really awesome, and I'm really happy about it. So, she watches my videos sometimes. She's probably watching this one, which is completely alright. I understand. I wanted her to learn this stuff through me anyway. Through me or mom, actually, would probably be the best two options. So, although things, like I said, were difficult early on, they have not affected me very much in my actual life. They happened way before I was of an age to feel sad about stuff. I didn't have too many emotions as a kid in that regards. It wasn't like I was crying my eyes out because I wanted my father or anything like that. It wasn't like I understood what was going on either. But for the most part, it just has never really fazed me too much. Because I lived with my grandparents, they were able to use the Social Security money that came from my father passing away. And they used that to help pay my education. So, if anything, I've benefited from this situation more because I understand death and how much it can affect people. I understand how suicide affects a family. And I was not affected by it. It helped me, either become a stronger person by knowing more, or by making me able to learn and have an education that was worthwhile, a private school education that got me into college. That not only was it the fact that I come from, like, a sort of what people considered to be a broken family, which I don't. It was a very tragic incident, and it kind of sucks, yeah. But for the most part, it just wasn't that bad, in my opinion. Just shitty early on for other people. But I was able to get, like, a good education out of it, so as long as, like, I can benefit from this situation, I don't see any reason to cry or complain about it. It wasn't what I would have wanted. I would have loved to have had my father over the money that I ended up getting for Social Security, over the education itself. Of course, I still would have liked to have gotten a good education, yes, but it wasn't a necessity, like having an actual father was. But because I had my stepfather there, things worked, The situation worked out for the better in the end. So, and all that stuff has culminated into who I am today, basically. There are more stuff to tell you. More stuff. Wow. There are more stories to tell you. And that was just a sort of overview of everything. Anyway, I could probably get more into that, have my mom get on the mic and help me out telling stories. I don't really want to force her to do that or put her through that emotional trauma again. She told me everything, or majority of everything, when I turned 13 because she figured I was a adult by that point. But that story is for another time. There's still a little bit left of this grinding session, so I'll let you guys sit here and watch it yourselves. I'll probably have some music in the background, more than like my outro music, because I think it's pretty decent. I really like that outro music. I don't know what it is, but I'll let you guys sit through that, listen to this, the game itself, and of course that music, and hopefully your days will become a little bit brighter for whatever reason. Check out some of my other videos. I'm not normally this, like, my topics aren't normally this depressing or, like, serious and deep. Like, I do a lot of just fun screwing around stuff. My life is pretty fun in general. It's just, like I said, things started off pretty bad, and they just worked out in the end. So, my name is the Jack13, and I'll catch you guys next time with whatever it is that I decide to upload.